Welcome to Power Up, the podcast that uncovers the unique challenges women leaders face today. Join your hosts, Nat and Kristen, as we dive into the tough topics and provide actionable insights you can apply right now. Don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss any episodes. Hello, hope everyone is well. We want to talk about strengths again, and that your strengths aren't always your superpower. Just quickly, we did do a couple podcasts on strengths, so if you want to listen to those again, it's number 28, episode number 29 and 30, and go in and have a listen at why knowing your strengths is so important. Oh, sorry, I thought that was an earthquake. It wasn't.
This is the reality of podcasting. Kristen uses her savant powers to figure out what episodes we have covered this in before. And then because we live in a city that's built on about 1,000 fault lines, which is a ridiculous way to build a city, every time you hear a crack, you immediately assume you have to dive under a table.
Well, it's either that or 60 mile per hour winds, which is actually what it is. So
we're dealing with the combo at the moment. We've got the classic Wellington combo.
How shook a little bit there. Yeah, so go back and listen to why knowing your strengths is so important as part of your personal brand. But today we want to talk about superpowers.
We do, because women tend to default to doing mode. We've talked about this in a previous newsletter. We actually talk about it a lot because there's actually a lot of evidence to suggest that women aren't great multitaskers, and that might come as a shock to a few of us. We actually get incredibly skilled at context switching, at being able to take a bunch of stuff and moving between those different contexts incredibly quickly, which, as we all know, the more you do something, the more you hone it and the better you get at it, which then creates a self-fulfilling spiral and an other people fulfilling spiral, in that you get known for being very great at delivery, you get asked to do delivery, you end up spending your entire life doing. And we think it's really important to separate out your strengths, which you are clearly strong at doing if you are a woman, most likely, if you're a woman leader. Not all of us, but most of us tend towards that. But that doesn't necessarily make doing a superpower. So we thought it was really important to distinguish between those two things and help you understand how you can potentially reposition yourself and make sure you're playing to your superpowers, not just your strengths.
And we're going to describe exactly what that is in a minute, but we thought we would take you through a little bit of an exercise. And I'm putting you on the spot here, Nat. I haven't prepared my pitch, so it's all good. But if you were, Nat, to get up in front of a room and you're giving a talk about your leadership identity, I'd love for you to describe yourself as a leader.
I am the type of leader who likes to take big, grunty, complex problems and break them down and solve them and get really excited about creating and delivering new solutions to big problems. Really, that's my joy as a leader. And inspiring other people to get behind them and come on board whatever journey I am deciding to go down.
And I know you as that, which is great, because we always carry on about if you're not telling that narrative, people are making stuff up on your behalf.
Okay.
So I love that
to you, Kristen, who, even though she put me on the spot, has had probably 5 minutes more to think about it. If that.
Okay, well, I have to bring up my strengths just quickly. Okay. I have a genuine belief that people can be motivated to do anything when they're inspired. So I have a real gift to influence people and their behaviors and their engagement with work by motivating them and by really telling them the story of where we're going, how we're going to get there, and why they are perfectly and uniquely suited to be joining me on this journey.
I love it. And I think if you've ever been on the other side of a Kristen sales pitch in yourself, that's basically what it is. You have experienced the warm glow of Kristen telling you exactly why you are the perfect person to do whatever it is she wants you to do.
It's like my coaching sessions. I know my only job is, because I see these incredible women facing me and I know how incredible they are, right? And they don't. That's sometimes sometimes they don't. Sometimes they don't. And my job is to basically be a mirror and to reflect back on them how incredible they are.
Yeah.
And it is something, it's a real strength, superpower of mine, which we're going to chat about shortly. So going back to you, Nat, I thought it would be really interesting for the listeners for you to share what your strengths are. Like when you did the high five test. So again, episode 28, 29, 30 of our podcast, we share with you how we went and discovered our top 5 strengths by taking a test. And Nat, what were yours?
My top strength was strategist, then philomath, which is my favorite, which is effectively a learner, believer, so really strong on core values, catalyst, starter, and a problem solver.
So personally, me, while I recognize that all of them are in your pitch, I definitely heard strategist and problem solver really clearly. Like if I were to have to identify 2 strengths in that story that you told, I heard those.
I'm pleased you heard those. I was trying to get behind as well this idea of solving the complex problems, because I am hugely purpose driven, funnily enough, in my strengths. And I think really recognizing that the problems we like to solve anyway aren't just any old thing. They're things that we think are really big things that would make the world better. But yeah. I might need to scrub up on how I portray that a little bit more.
Do you mean in terms of believer and core values? I feel like that comes through. Oh no, at the end you did say, did you talk about?
I mean, in all honesty, can we even remember what I said? Because it was like 3 minutes ago. And
in edit mode, I will. And they'll be like, darn it, Kristen, why didn't you remember that?
Was I even listening?
But I know, again, that you are a believer. So perhaps, anyway, that's interesting. I'm going to go back and figure out if I heard that.
Well, and let's share yours as well.
Yeah, okay. So mine are self-believer, storyteller, catalyst, deliverer, and philomath like you. So the love of learning. And interestingly, I think 4 out of those 5 are in the green zone of this high 5 strengths test. And that is around motivating. Like all of those core strengths that I have lean into the very motivating, where obviously deliverer is doing. I trust yours are in the thinking meets. You probably have more of a mix, aren't you?
No, I think I'm largely in, I think it is thinking strategy stuff. Like I think they basically all fall under that, I think. With a little bit of doing as well with the catalyst stuff. Which is actually really funny because I've talked about this before, but I've always been known as a doer and none of my strengths actually are that, which is hilarious. Apart from getting things off the ground. Like, and I know this about myself, like once I've mastered something, I have no joy in doing it. Like I just don't care anymore. I'm like, I know how to do this. I want to move on.
But I point out that probably is a philomath thing and yours is number 2. And once you learn something, you move on.
Yes. And whereas a true deliverer would want to keep, like they get a kick out of actually getting stuff done. I don't have that.
I have that. So that is my 4th strength. But you've made me question, just chatting about how I have had to master context switching so much. I'm not unique to anyone, by the way, but when I think back to my life, it is the juggle of the career, my my role as a wife, my role as a mum, project managing. Like I kind of am the family project manager, and I have possibly a natural affinity to do it. I'd rather do that than cook. And so that's something that I've become very good at. So I wonder if that has come up high in my strengths because of that. But also,
if you were a true deliverer, you would be the cook. You wouldn't be the project manager.
Right. But I like, okay, fair. Yep. I actually love when things get delivered into the wild though. Like some of my proudest moments are at Hatch were when, but maybe that's not deliverer because I wasn't doing the delivering. I don't know. I don't know.
You're the catalyst. You like to. I think that's where we both share. Side note for anyone listening, this is the kind of conversation you can have when you do your strengths. So highly encourage everyone to take the 5 minutes, do your strengths test, and get together with a group of other Powrsuiters or friends, because this is where you start to really, I mean, we find ourselves infinitely fascinating and we're not unique on that either, but you actually can start to have these conversations and go, why do I do that? Because I was even thinking, I've spent my life creating websites. My early career, I created a design agency and I grew it. And when I reflect back on that, people would call me a web designer. I deliver stuff. But what I actually did was go into their businesses and help them understand who they were and what unique value they delivered, because I was the one saying, this is the one-liner that summarizes what you do. What is your unique value proposition and all of that sort of stuff. However, I marketed myself as a designer doer, and reflecting on my, early 20s and how I positioned myself. I was like, isn't that funny? I could have completely transformed the kind of customers I got and the value I slapped onto what I did by just really playing to my strengths and what I actually did rather than packaging it up. It's quite funny when you start to think through how you make decisions and how you can play to your strengths and showcase them a lot more.
Yeah, well, I've just made a realization that deliver is there from my early years, and probably when taking the test, it's something I knew I have a natural affinity to do. If I need to do something, learn it and then do it. But I've probably answered that with that bent, which is really interesting. And we ran a power session down in Christchurch, and there was this room full of incredible women that we always ask women to go to in our power sessions, which was our pilot program. We asked them to go to the corner of the room that was it motivating? Was it doing? Was it thinking? And we asked them to go where most of their strengths lay, and they were all doing, and they were all deliverers. And by the end of the day, they were like, hang on a sec, we don't want to be known as deliverers anymore. And so that's where we move into, okay, that's one of your strengths, but what is your superpower? So the superpower is where you take your strengths and then you overlay what you love doing. What do you get joy from? What are the things that absolutely fill you and with pride, with joy, with delight? The intersection of those two things are your superpowers. So Nat, back to your introduction, and if you were to go into a room full of people and want to sell yourself as a leader, what is your superpower? Do you feel that your narrative really described that well?
I mean, I could probably improve it, but it's funny looking at my strengths, and I wonder if this is because we've been doing this for a while now and really honing them. I don't know if I'd taken the strength test 2 years ago if that had been the same. So I look at all of those things and I am pretty comfortable that these are the things I absolutely love to do.
And want to be known
all
for.
Of them are the things I love to do. There's nothing in that list anymore and I wonder if that is because I have spent the last 5 or 10 years really honing those and really proactively opting out of other things. Because I still stand by those strengths tests. Yes, they are natural affinity. They're also the things you currently think are really important. Like when you read the questions, it's often your perspective on the importance of different roles and different functions and different skills. So I suspect that as you place more value and you really understand what brings you joy, your strengths start to evolve into those things.
I agree. And I feel as though I am going to do the test again, because I would love not to see deliverer there. And while I am fine with delivering and I'm very capable of it, I think if I was in a room pitching myself in whatever context, I wouldn't want to be known as that. Whereas I would want to be known by the ability to inspire others with confidence, creating momentum, and then, being heard and listened to. I think I would be happy to be known for that.
Yes. Yeah, okay. I agree with that. Yeah, I like that. And also it's hilarious because we are getting a new business off the ground. We are both catalysts, but we're both like, we're not doing. But that's actually, funnily enough, really important when you're getting a new business off the ground, because it's so easy to fall into the trap of doing everything, whereas really playing to our strengths mean we actually need to bring other people in quite quickly to do those things.
Yeah. And context is really interesting, I think, for most. We're probably unique, Nat, in that we are founders, we are starting something, we are our team. But as people navigate through the workforce, they're probably pitching themselves to all sorts of different levels. It could be executive senior leadership team, it could be a board level, it could be a team of employees, or it could be colleagues. So what are your thoughts around, are superpowers contextual, and do you want to highlight slightly different ones depending on the group that you're pitching yourself to?
I think so. And I think so for a couple of reasons. One, at the moment, we both have to do delivery. So if I, for example, wanted to work on this really amazing project that aligned with my values and it was just getting off the ground and the only role that was available was a delivery role, I would absolutely focus on that because it played to so much of my other superpowers, like the fact that I got to work on something that I really believed in and we were getting it off the ground. I could really play up a strength of delivery just to do that. So I can totally see how you would also apply that in multiple situations. And I think the second situation you would apply that to is getting out of your comfort zone, because I think while we are all known for being deliverers and often for strengths that we really shine through day upon day, we also put ourselves in our own trap there, that we get super comfortable with those roles, and it's a little bit scary to stretch into some of those other strengths that we haven't necessarily honed as much. So if you are someone, and I'm looking at yours, who is a catalyst, and you haven't really stretched that strength that much, like you might be getting some small things off the ground, that would be a really good opportunity to put your hand up and say, I want to be the one who gets this new big project off the ground. But that would require getting out of your, not your comfort zone, but like if it did require getting out of your comfort zone, I think that's why sometimes we don't lean into them as much.
Yeah. Can you remember a time where you introduced yourself recently? What about your peer group?
Can I tell you a secret? I'm terrible at introducing myself. That's why I often talk about a lot of with our Powrsuiters is I'm the classic. I used to be the classic. You go around in a meeting room and you would think I was the biggest noob in the room. Like I would just be like, hi, I'm Nat. Hate using first and last name. I'm Nat. I'm real casual. And then you hear all these other really impressive people and you're like, there we go. I just undersold myself again. So that's been a real goal of mine to really do it. So I do try and do it. But with my peer group, no, I haven't.
Yeah. I know we're in a unique situation, but our listeners aren't. They are introducing themselves, or should be introducing themselves all the time, even at meetings, especially at meetings, to establish who they are, why they're there, and the strengths they bring to the table, or more importantly, the superpower.
Absolutely. And in all honesty, we're not that unique in our situation, that we're often, if we're pitching for investment, if we're trying to convince people who are signing up as our foundation customers of why they should back us.
Yes.
Our personal experience is valuable. Without our superpowers on display, we're just two randos creating random women creating a leadership platform. So it's probably in many ways more important for us. And I think we are both doing it when we need to. I just feel like in casual situations, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is, because I don't know if I mentioned this last week, but I had this incredible call with a Powrsuiter who had been practicing her elevator pitch, and she was like, I'm going to say it. And she did it, and it was spectacular, and it just encompassed who she was and what her superpowers were with some great examples, and I was blown away by her. And I'm going to use her as inspiration to, even in the most comfortable, easygoing situations, to keep honing it, because those are the best times to do it.
I'm pretty sure you have peer group tonight.
Yes, I do. Yes, Stalker.
Okay, I can think of a recent example, so I'm going to share that. And I'm relatively new to a board, and so I'm sitting on a board, and we had a strategy day. So this is in a room full of people that I don't know, but either sit on the board or are senior leadership teams or external consultants. And so I had an opportunity to establish my why and why I was there. And I did it on the spot, and I was just quickly thinking through, what is the strength that I want to highlight here as it relates to my why am I here? And so I went to my Clifton strengths, because I'd have blanked a little bit on my high five test strengths. And one of my Clifton strengths is significance. And that is wanting to be involved and around people that are doing incredible things and big things and interesting things. And so that's what I started with. I said, my name is Kristen. One of my strengths is significance. And what that means is, and then I basically described that. And I said, that is why I'm here, not only on this board, but also in this room. And I look forward to contributing to the strategy so that we can do great things, big things together. And then I just stopped, and I thought that was kind of all I needed. But
love it.
Yeah, it worked.
Yeah.
I think it worked.
Well, I heard some feedback that it worked.
Oh, good. Great. That was great. Give it a try. The next time you introduce yourself or answer any questions in a job interview, think before you speak. What are your superpowers? So again, that's where your strengths and your joy, love what you're doing overlap. What is it that you want to shine through when you're answering? Tell me about yourself.
Yeah, so you don't have to default straight to I'm a great doer, I'm great at this, all the stuff that you might be relied on at the moment. You can reposition that. And if you're not in a job interview, if you're just in a job that you're planning to stay in for a while, you have an opportunity to do that a lot of the time. Like if you are having a one-on-one with your manager, you can say, hey, I've just done my strengths. And I realized I haven't been flexing these two that I really, really enjoy. I would love to have more opportunity to do it. And here's some examples of how I see myself doing that over the next couple of months. Are you cool with that? Great. Boom. Done.
Check out Powrsuit.com to learn about our membership network. You can meet us online. We're doing masterclasses, we're doing fantastic interviews. You're going to meet hundreds, if not thousands, of incredible people just like you. We even have a space, a very safe space for male allies. So check us out at Powrsuit.com. And if you have any questions, just hit us up and we're happy to hop on a call. Chat to you next time. Bye.